You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Now, is it easier to have a higher ticket premium offering or sell low ticket offerings that are a cheaper price and maybe could have more people come into your business? Well, that's the age-old question, right? And probably one that you think is fairly obvious because your brain instantly goes to, well, I already know the right answer. But I think you might be surprised by what the right answer is. So today I'm going to dispel 3 of the biggest myths that I've heard about whether it's best to have low ticket or high ticket prices. And let's get into it and get rid of these myths so that you can make the right decision for your business. This episode is coming right up. Don't go anywhere. We are almost there.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and over the last 25 years in marketing and business, I've helped many brands to launch, scale, and grow, with some of them becoming multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm here to inspire you to get out of your own way and create a profitable, fulfilling business while living the lifestyle you really desire, without all the hustle. So I bring you She's the Business podcast, a unique blend of strategies, tactics, mindset, health, and spirituality, literally everything you need to be the successful leader of your dream business. Made by women, for women, this is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
In today's episode, we're answering the age-old question, should I go high ticket or low ticket for my business, for the offers that I'm creating? And I'm going to dispel 3 of the biggest myths that I have seen so many times that are believed about both high and low ticket to help you come to your own conclusion about what is really best for you and make that decision. So let's get right into it. What is the very first myth that we have about whether we're doing a high ticket or a low ticket offer? Which one is easier? Well, the first myth is that low ticket is easier to sell. Right? And there are really 3 parts of your brain that believe in this. So it's not just about addressing one thing. There's actually 3 separate parts of your brain that all drive you to believe in this statement. The very first part is your consumer brain. So we've got a really well-developed consumer brain, right? Because ever since you were a child, you've been watching your parents, your aunts and uncles, grandparents, siblings, neighbors, everybody buying things from shops. You've been in supermarkets, you're in there maybe on almost a daily basis, right? Buying the essentials to live. So we're surrounded by fast-moving consumer goods. And usually there's a lot of price competition happening. You know, people buying things because it's cheaper. Now, I know there's always exceptions to the rule, but this has been so embedded in your subconscious that people buy things when they're cheaper because it's what you've been exposed to, it's what you're seeing all the time. That part of your brain is like, nope, we're on automatic pattern here. This is a rule that we've learned in our life, and now we're applying it to everything, to every situation, to every type of product or service. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because while we can agree that, hey, people do like a deal, they like to feel like they're getting a good deal and getting good value, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is the cheapest, right? It's like you could see a deal where there's a deal on building a house and maybe there are some extra things thrown in or something of amazing value, but you're still spending $500,000 on this house build or more. There are deals on all sorts of things that would not be cheap, like luxury holidays, cars. I even saw a block of land recently that it was in an absolute pristine location, and this block of land, because it was part of a development, they had a special offer going on. You could get 10% knocked off. So you can see, wow, yes, people do like deals, and deals can help to instigate a buying response, but it doesn't mean that it has to be the cheapest. It just means that they have to be feeling like they're getting great value. And you can probably think of many times that you've bought something that wasn't the cheapest. And why did you buy it? Well, probably because of the quality that you were after was that was why you chose that particular one, because it was of the quality that you're after, or maybe it was just the best fit for you, right? And so the price was kind of irrelevant because I'm not buying something that's not actually the right one for me just because it's cheaper. No, you're always going to go with the one that is a better fit. So that's the first part of the brain, the consumer. And now that you can start to see this and recognize it, you can recognize that thought that's popping up almost automatically in your mind when you're considering your pricing and your offers, and that belief that, well, people only buy when it's cheap. Yeah, that's absolutely not true. Otherwise, we would never have had companies such as Tesla, for example, being so successful. Now, Tesla entered the market, a brand new player, no experience, no credibility. They were brand new. They didn't even come from another car manufacturer. There was nothing there. And they entered the market as an absolute premium, right at the very top end, and became successful with that product. And then after years and years, decided to bring out a more affordable, scalable option. So we're talking, maybe originally it was $100K, that's US dollars, for their Roadster. And then years and years later, the T or the S series around the $30,000 mark. So you can see that we can challenge these things that we have decided when we were very young, things that we've learned that have just been sitting there and they're on autopilot. Because right now, when you're looking at your business and your pricing, all of these beliefs are helping you to decide and determine what feels logical, what feels right and the best thing to do. And they're not necessarily helping you because of the way that some of these things have been formed. So that's the first part of your brain. I said there were 3 parts. The second part of your brain that's telling you that lower ticket offers, lower ticket pricing is easier is the people pleaser. Now, as you can imagine, the people pleaser thinks that they want to please all the people. Therefore, pleasing the people means that we should have low pricing because, yes, the people pleaser is aware of the consumer mentality, right? So thinks everybody wants low prices. And therefore, I need to be low, affordable, acceptable, accessible to everybody in order to please people. And the people pleaser is absolutely afraid of rejection. They're afraid of anybody saying no. They're also afraid of anybody saying they're too expensive or too high, too luxury, and that person feels like they can't access it. The people pleaser is very risk averse in that way, and they want to price low for that reason because they think that it makes it a possible yes for anybody. Now, the interesting thing is that no matter what price you set, somebody is going to think it's too much and someone else will think it's too little. So you're actually not pleasing 2 different types of people at every single price point you could possibly choose. So the truth is that you're actually never going to please anybody, no matter what price it is. So that gives you permission, validation to set your prices at wherever you feel is right, not worrying about it because there's always going to be somebody who it's not right for at every single level. Now, the third part of your brain that is telling you that lower prices are easier is what I like to call the shortcut seeker. Now, the shortcut seeker is essentially a lot of what's in your subconscious, where your subconscious loves to be on automatic programming. It likes to look for things that take less energy, less thinking power, less time, because it just wants to run on autopilot, doesn't want to do heavy lifting, right? And so kind of logically to this part of your brain, the shortcut seeker, it's like, well, if it's lower price, then it means lower effort and energy. People won't expect as much. I won't have to do as much. It should be easier, right? It kind of makes sense when you think about it until you realize that actually in business, and maybe this makes more sense when you've tried it and experienced it yourself, but you still have to do almost the same amount of work, and often actually even more when it's lower price. Because think about it, no matter what type of offer you have, you still need to put time and effort into your strategy, aligning this offer, building an offer that's right for who it is that you are selling it to. That takes time to figure that out. The messaging, takes time. Now, the buying platform systems, campaigns, promotion, that all takes time too. And here's the bit where it actually takes longer for you when you have a lower priced offering. Now, why is that, you ask? Surely it's harder to sell something higher priced. Like, well, actually, often that's not the case because you only need a couple of people to hit a certain number. For example, if your offering is $5,000 and you've got a goal of $20,000, well, you only need 4 people to say yes. Whereas if your offering's $500 and you still have a goal of $20,000, you're going to need 40 people to say yes. So in order to be able to reach the amount of people you need, in order to get the 40 people to say yes, it's going to take a lot more effort, resources, putting things out there, campaigns, maybe ads, emails, social media, whole lot of stuff, right? Whereas if you've got any amount of audience, even a tiny audience of 100 people, you've probably got 4 people in that 100 who are ready to say yes already, right? The maths it doesn't lie. It is right there and it's making a whole lot of sense right now. So that myth that lower ticket offers are easier, you can see how we are believing it and how we're attached to it, because these 3 parts of the brain, they're very noisy, they're very well embedded, they've been with us our whole lives, but it's not true. It is not true in business. So that's the first myth. Totally busted, right? The second myth that I hear quite commonly, because once people realize, well, actually, it is easier if I have a higher priced offering because I'm actually going to be doing less work in order to get the yeses, the clients on board with that. The very next barrier that pops up, it's like Jack in the Box sticks up in front of you, and it says, well, actually, if I have a higher ticket or a premium, I prefer to say premium, a premium offer, then that means I'm going to have clients who are premium clients. And I'm premium clients like prima donnas, really high maintenance and annoying and expecting a lot from me. And it's going to take me so much more time to serve them. It's a really common thought. Could that be something that you're thinking right now? The thing is that what I've discovered through literally experience and also what I've heard from so many of my clients that have made a shift into actually having a premium offering where they hadn't had one before is just the absolute joy that they've experienced. And the kind of comments that I've had sent into me are things like, oh my goodness, my client is just an absolute delight to work with. So easy, never complains, pays on time, pays up front, no squabbling, very low maintenance, usually super committed as well, because you've probably heard the saying, well, when you pay attention. And yes, paying a certain amount of money when it's more significant, it means that there's more skin in the game for them. They're actually much more committed to the outcome than they are when it's something that's super cheap. So what happens is that when they've got that level of commitment to the outcome, then you're going to get greater success working together because they're committed to the outcome just as much as you are. They're going to show up. They're going to do the things that they need to do. They're going to put in the effort and energy because they've committed to it. They've actually put real investment behind this. And it is a win-win for everybody. So second myth, totally busted. High ticket or premium clients are not actually harder to work with. They tend to be 10 times easier, much easier for you. So the third myth, let's talk about it. The third myth that comes up, and this is usually the third one that comes along as well. So we've got past the first 2. And then the third one is, but I don't know if I'm ready for this yet. I don't know if I can actually offer something that is premium or that is high ticket. And the reason why people think this, I think that we could see a little bit of imposter syndrome rising up here, but it's usually some self-imposed milestones or barriers that we've put in place. So people will think things such as, well, I need to have a certain amount of experience. I need to have testimonials. I need to have awards, maybe a book. Maybe I need to be speaking on stages. I need to be seen as an expert. And there's all of these things that they've created even I need qualifications when there is actually no requirement for qualifications in that thing that they're doing. You know, there are some professions where a qualification is 100% required. There are other ones where your lived experience actually counts for a hell of a lot more, right? Think about that for a moment, because there's so much that you can experience and then be able to help others better because of your amazing lived experience, much more so than having learnt it from somebody else and memorized the information and then regurgitating the information. Like, you know the difference in that. You know, there's a huge amount. The expertise, the insights, the value that somebody with the lived experience can provide is so much more. Now, of course, there are some places where you do need qualifications, absolutely, not taking anything away from that. But are we placing other barriers, imaginary barriers, in our own way? You know, who said that you need a certain amount of years experience? Like, how many years? What's the number? What's the magic number? Where did that even come from? Who said that you need a large audience, for example, or to be already having awards or have a book or a podcast? You know, a lot of those things obviously can help, but they're not a prerequisite in order to be able to have a premium offering. It's entirely up to you. You know, whether you design an offering to be a low ticket, high volume, sort of mass market thing, or if you design it to be a much more premium offering, that's entirely your choice. And you only have to look around in your own niche to see that there are all sorts of different styles out there, no matter what the niche is or the industry is that you're in. You know, even take something like health and fitness, for example, where there's absolutely a trend, a skewed distribution towards lower price, lower ticket, purely because it's such a huge market and a lot of people are trying to cover a lot of people within it. They're really trying to go broad. Therefore, their pricing needs to be lower because, you know, it's not as specific. However, there are some absolutely high, very high premium offerings out there, and people are 100% paying for them, signing up and doing them. So there is no rule. There is no, you must do something in a certain industry versus another. It's actually about finding that sweet spot for you, right? You all know this. And it's so interesting because when you think about what are all the things that we're putting in our own way, thinking that we need to have them first? Well, you know, I look back on my years in business and some of the things that I thought I needed and like, well, I need to feel like I'm ready before I can rise up, before I can ask for, you know, a promotion. Back in my old days as an employee, you felt like you needed to have a certain amount of years experience behind you, a certain amount of, you know, success and achievements before you were qualified to ask for more. But in your own business, you know, you're the one setting the rules here. Nobody else is saying what you can or cannot, the price that you can put on your offerings. It's really about when are you ready to recognize your own expertise and your own experience and the value of it. And it's so interesting because when you have hindsight, you know, the benefit of hindsight that we all love to have, and wouldn't it be great if we could have hindsight in the moment instead of having to live through it and experience it the other way? But gosh, I remember even in my first few years of coaching, you know, I thought that I was pricing high, but I actually wasn't. I was pricing really, really low. And that was just my perspective. And I see now the absolute cloud that I had over my own eyes, and also feeling like I was pricing to the limit of where I was in terms of my business and how long I've been operating. What I've been forgetting is I wasn't new to marketing. I wasn't new to running a business. I wasn't new to building brands or anything. I had more than 20 years experience behind me at the time. And it was like I'd been ignoring that, discounting it, because it had been as an employee that I'd been running marketing departments and teams and, you know, creating new brands, totally forgotten, hey, my own business. Well, the business might be new, but I'm not new. Yet I've been treating myself as if I was brand new, starting right back at the bottom of the rung again, just like my very first job. So that was a hard lesson. And it was so interesting the moment that I sat there and thought, well, what am I waiting for? Where is this permission going to come from for me to feel like I'm ready to have a premium offering? And when I started to examine that, well, I need to have more years of experience, and realize, well, I have all of these years experience. So where did that even come from? I realized that it was actually more about me feeling safe and comfortable. And there is definitely an interesting boundary and line that I'm going to talk about now, because I do say to clients, there is a sweet spot, and it comes down to you being able to be in alignment with your pricing and to believe in it. Now, if you've set a price too high that you're not in alignment with, as in you are not confident about it, you're not in alignment with it energetically because it feels like, well, this is crazy to put a price like that on it. Well, it just won't sell, because people will get that feel from you. But at the same time, if you've set your price too low and you actually resent it and you almost don't want people to sign up because it's annoying to you that it is so low, you're already resenting it before you've even started, well, that's another reason why they won't buy, because they'll feel that resentment as well. You're literally almost repelling them away from buying from you because you haven't set your pricing at the right level. So it is absolutely an individual thing. There is no, here's a number or here's a range that you should be in at this point in time. It is very much dependent on what niche you're in, the industry, what your offering is, what your expertise and your, what I like to call your expert zone. So in my program, Business Jam, we take the niche to a level that's actually defining your expert zone, which is where you really have authority. Now, all of these factors play a role in what is the right offer for you and what is the right pricing for that offer. So there's no set rules around it, literally. And I love that. There are no rules. It can be almost anything you want. But in saying that, there is a framework that I like to apply to it. And in figuring out, well, what is the best way for you to do this, right? And in order to have an offer that's both easy to sell, easy to deliver, and actually meets your income and lifestyle goals, meaning that you can offer it and work the hours that you want to work while hitting your profit goals. So yes, there is absolutely a sweet spot for you and for every business. And that's what my framework really helps you to do, is determine where it is. So that third myth, that you need some external validation, maybe it's in the form of awards. Some people go after lots of awards to make themselves feel validated. Other people, and I'll put my hand up and say, yes, I obviously have a podcast, created that, or a book, or a big audience somewhere. Like, we can actually, right now, let's do it together while you're listening to me. We can let go of that. We can let go of this imaginary milestone that we've created, a barrier that you've created in your own mind that's telling you that you're not ready yet. Because the only person who needs to decide that you're ready is you. And you can do that right now, because you can lean into all the reasons why you are ready. All of the qualifications, credibility, and expertise and experience that you have right now. Now, yes, of course, having testimonials is absolutely I'm not going to say it is essential, because everybody has their first client at some point, right? So testimonials are not essential, but yes, of course, they are extremely valuable, especially when you are, pricing something that's more premium. However, think about people that have a much lower priced offering. They still often need testimonials in order for trust to be there. So think about, well, how can you get your first testimonials? If you don't have any at all, let's go out there and get some. You've got them, great. Now you're able to move forward. And guess what? You're not going to need a whole stack of them, maybe a couple, one or two, just some form of proof that you've been able to do this, and look for them. You may already have them and you've been ignoring the fact that they exist. So we've had the three myths that I see most common that all come around this, should I have a low ticket, low ticket sounds easier, or should I go for a premium offering and have a higher price? And people get stuck between this and, using this intuition to help them decide. And as you've just heard, most of our intuition's usually telling us that you should go for the lower ticket offering. But as I spoke you through before, well, it actually isn't easier. And unless you have already a really large audience and the volume in order to be able to bring in the sheer volume of leads that you need to turn into clients for that lower priced offering to meet those goals, then it actually is really, really hard. And that's where so many people start and their business just grinds away in first gear because they're putting in all this effort and energy. And, while they might be making some sales, it's not to the level that they want and it's not getting them to their goals because the pricing is so low that you need so many more to reach it. So my answer to you is it doesn't have to be this or that, but your premium offerings are faster to grow in less time. You can reach your profit and income goals in far less time, much faster and easier with higher ticket offerings because simply you just don't need as many people as you do with the lower ticket ones, right? A lot easier to get a few yeses than needing hundreds. And the lower ticket offerings are the perfect scalable offering, right? Because yes, there's always a limit that you might get to with your more premium ones. And I'm not saying premium has to be one-to-one. It doesn't. You can have a premium group offering or a premium one-to-many. But usually you seem to hit a capacity ceiling a little bit earlier, right? So it's just about thinking, well, what is the role for a lower ticket offering in my business? And what's the role for a higher ticket one? And how am I going to put these two together? Because that's the other thing. That's where I like to help my clients see it's not just about creating something to sell. It's how does this thing fit within your broader business? And that's really where you get the economies of scale, streamlining, and really great movement of your clients within your business. Because once you've brought them into your world, it's so much easier to keep them in there and have other things for them to do rather than to be always out there, always needing to reach new people. So yes, you can have both. It may not be an either or, it might be a both, but it might be something first and something else after. And, my opinion on that matter is it's much faster and easier when you've got a small audience, when you've got maybe when you're newer and you just don't have the reach and the volume that you need, then having a premium offering is actually your fastest way to reaching your first goals and milestones. Whether it's a six-figure business, multiple six figures, you can reach that really easily with premium offerings, which is why that's what I focus on in Business Jam, helping people to get to their multiple six-figure business. And from there, we add in scalable strategies. How do we want to scale? What do you want to do to create that ability to scale more without adding more time in? And that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I've definitely enjoyed it. I love to dispel the myths. I absolutely love talking about offer strategy, getting my teeth stuck into it, as you can probably tell. So always a lot of fun for me. But if you have any questions about this, if what I've shared with you today is like, oh, that is interesting, but gosh, there's a lot to unpack there. Well, maybe you want to listen to this episode again because, when you hear something another time, you're going to get more out of it the second time that you listen. And perhaps you might want to ask a question. So reach out to me. I'm there on Instagram. I'm in Facebook. You can send me a DM, say hi, ask a question. More than happy to answer your questions. And, I really love hanging out with people on the socials. And that's it from me. Have a wonderful week. We'll be back again next week with another amazing episode. Have you ever had that feeling that like you're running your business like you're in first gear in the car? So your revs are really high. There's a lot of energy and effort and input going in, and you're just not going anywhere very fast. You're kind of crawling along at this like high revs. Well, that's a really common feeling. And the most likely cause of this is the strategy that you're using in your business and actually the part of the strategy that you're focusing on right now. You see, a lot of people like to skip ahead and they jump straight into what I call phase 3, which is the execution alignment. And they're in there doing all of this work and energy to figure out how to execute on their marketing plans in order to bring in the clients for their offers, but they actually have skipped over the first 2 phases, and that's making it really hard to get any sort of traction and any sort of result in phase 3. Now, that makes perfect sense to you when you think about it. Well, of course, if I'm in phase 3, but I haven't actually graduated there my business is still in phase 1, but I'm trying to operate in phase 3. Of course, that's why it isn't working. Now, there are what I would call 5 key phases of your strategy development that help you go from literally business with nothing happening, 0 clients, nothing coming in at all, to having a lifestyle-friendly, profitable, fulfilling, and really easy to run a business. So there's 5 key phases that you're going to go through in that journey from A to B, from the beginning to having that amazing vision of your business and life in balance. I've put together a really simple guide that helps you to self-diagnose which phase you're in right now in your business, so that you can see, well, what is it that you should be focusing on, so that you can graduate to the next phase, so you can step up to that next level. And each phase you get into, the momentum builds. By the time you reach phase 5, your business is at full steam. You are literally in gear number 5. You're racing down the motorway with nothing stopping you at all. So if you want to get a copy of this guide and figure out what phase you're in right now and what you should be focusing on, then head to my website, jessicaosborne.com/5 phases. The link is below in the show notes for you, and grab your free copy. Get stuck in. Let me know what it is that you find out, and you can get your business moving to your next level much, much sooner once you're focused on the right thing. So I hope you enjoy it, and that's all from me.